Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at something quite interesting. This is a figure I've actually been debating on purchasing for quite a while because it looks to be super cool. It is a Jurassic Park style Dilophosaurus, although the packaging does say Jurassic World. I feel like if it actually had Jurassic Park, like the JP logo right there in the front, I may never have taken this one out of the packaging because the packaging is actually kind of cool. Like you can see, basically it looks like the hands of the Dilophosaurus coming up and over the top of like a crate or something, or a gate. I don't know exactly what it is, but it looks like it's coming up over the top of it, kind of reaching over, and obviously we can see the head sculpt of the figure there. But this is an Imaginext release, and it came out a little ways back, not too far back, maybe like 3-4 months, something like that. Maybe even a little longer, but it's one that's pretty pricey. Like the price tag initially was quite expensive. I can't recall now what it was at Target, but I feel like it was near like $100 or so, maybe a little less. So when it initially had come out, I did find it immediately at my Target, but just didn't really want to spend that price on it. And since then, I've seen the price drop here and there to around like the $50 range, and I was like, okay, it's closer to what I would like, but I'm not entirely sure how much I'll like it because it is Imaginext, so I still kind of waited, and then I just stumbled upon it at my local Walmart the other day, and it was on clearance for like $30 or something like that, or 30 something, I forget exactly, but I'm like, all right, well, you know what, I will go ahead and just try it out at that price because I definitely don't want to miss it. And since it is on clearance, I think maybe that means that it's going to be leaving my store soon. So I went ahead and snagged it, and we now are going to take a look at it, even though I am still kind of questioning my motives here with taking it out of the box, because I normally leave a lot of these larger figures in the box, but the only way to really review it is to take it out. So I guess we've got to pop this one out of the box. If we turn the box around, first of all, we can see on the side, we've got another shot of the Dilophosaurus and some kid playing with it, and then here on the back you can basically see pretty much the same image, it looks like, basically, of the Dilophosaurus looking pretty darn big and letting out some sort of a roar or vocalization of some kind. As you can see, it also states ambush and attack action. I mean, you could technically, I guess, use that as the name of the Dilophosaurus, the ambush and attack Dilophosaurus, I don't know. But regardless, again, it looks pretty cool. I'm honestly pretty excited about this one and have been for some time, so let's pop this box open and check it out. So there we go, the Dilophosaurus is assembled, and just like I expected, it is absolutely gigantic, like super colossal huge for sure. So I guess in a way we almost have sort of a super colossal Dilophosaurus now in the Jurassic World line, but obviously a very goofy looking one considering it is Imaginext, though it doesn't look as bad as you might expect. Specifically the head sculpt I think looks pretty cool, even though we have a big screw hole, actually a few screw holes on the side of the face on this side. But the worst part for this one, of course, would be the gigantic feet and the incredibly short tail. But it is what it is. You know, when you come into Imaginext, you kind of come into it expecting the figures to be sort of goofy looking. If we actually bring the camera back in here, and we begin our closer look here at the head sculpt of the Dilophosaurus, you can see it looks pretty cool. We have a few different variations of color, as we have a, fairly dark green, but at least a little bit of a lighter green than we see here that we start out with, which is more of like the classic Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus green. And then we have a darker green as we move back. Then we return back to the original green, which we never truly leave it because you can see it kind of goes up and over the top of the, darker green area. We do also have nice yellow glass eyes, which look really cool, definitely giving it a nice, fairly lifelike look. We've got a green crest for the Dilophosaurus. The crests are actually made of a very flexible rubber, so you can move those around as well, which is fun. And the actual texturing to the face, I think, looks pretty decent. I know my camera's not going to like it, but when you get nice and close, you can see there is some really impressive fine detail, at least when it comes to these greens here. Definitely some nice impressive fine detail within the face of the Dilophosaurus. You do, of course, also have the teeth sculpted nicely. Each one of the teeth are all sculpted individually. You've got a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. You can can kind of see a little tiny bit of texturing for the tongue, but not a whole lot. But the tongue is decently sculpted, and again, all of the teeth look good. Obviously, they look to be like separate pieces added at a later date rather than actually, painted in there. And there's also a little sound area up there for the Dilophosaurus to make some noises. I don't know if the opposing side had screw holes. Yep, unfortunately, both sides of the head sculpt of the Dilophosaurus does include screw holes, which is unfortunate for sure. But, if you really wanted to, you could probably hide those with a little bit of putty or something. You do, of course, also have the frill, which we can see here, but we're going to have to readjust the camera, I think, to take a look at that frill. So the way to basically extend the frill is with this section right here. You have to push it in. I thought for some reason I'd have to pull it. So you push it in and it extends out. It is a very flexible, soft fabric, which basically replicates the frill of a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus pretty decently, and I think that's pretty fun as well. Obviously, you can also see the mouth open. There are sound effects, but we'll get to that at some point here. As you move into the neck of the Dilophosaurus, you can see the scales are a lot more kind of impressive in size, leading back, especially along the back of the dinosaur. You can really see some fairly large scales. That's not really what we see on the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, but it is what it is. We do have that darker green that we see in the face moving along the back. You also have the lighter green that you see in the face moving along the middle of the Dilophosaurus, and then you do have that lighter tone here basically moving along the underbelly. Now, for the most part, some of the areas are a little bit washed out when it comes to detail. Like, you can see some decent detail on the underside. Maybe a little hard to pick up. It's okay down there. The detail as far as the skin texture looks a whole lot more impressive when you get to this area, but then once you move up into the top here, you can see that is definitely quite muted as far as the very fine detail goes. But when it comes to this green, I feel like the detail in that area is actually super impressive for Imaginext. As you move down, let's go ahead and readjust the camera again. This one's a little bit complicated to review because it is so huge, but you have another large cluster of scales here, like larger scales at the top of the arm. Moving down, you can see the musculature of the arm, some nice scoots moving down the front of the arm and then down into the hand, and of course our frill is now going to be in the way, but you can see some scoots moving over the fingers and then the nails. Sculpted pretty decently, but no actual paintwork for the nails of the hands. The underside here is completely hollow, just so we're aware, but you can articulate the arms forward and back, which is definitely nice. As we continue to move down, the skin texture again in the green areas still looks really, really nice. We can see the legs if we extend the camera back here. The legs look pretty good. There's a lot of creases and stuff, so the skin texture looks a little awkward. As you move down through the legs, we've got the knee right there. Kind of can see a little bit of a bulging calf muscle. The musculature up here isn't super obvious or anything. And then we move down into the feet of the Dilophosaurus, and as expected, they are huge. You can see the feet are gigantic. All three of these nails are all kind of blended together. They do have paintwork, obviously, which is a separate piece again that's been added, and it is a nice glossy black. There aren't any dew claws or anything for the Dilophosaurus, and as you can see, especially if we turn it around to the back, the insides of the legs are hollow yet again, just like the insides of the arms, which you can now see there with the hand. You can see how it's hollow inside. So it's okay as far as the detailing goes, but again, it doesn't come without its kind of goofy, exaggerated proportions like you usually get for Imaginext. And then you move out into the tail, and I would say the tail is definitely the worst section of this Dilophosaurus because everything about it looks super awkward and goofy. If the tail were longer, I feel like this could have been a pretty darn cool figure, but the short tail really massacres this one for me. If you can find somewhere to display this where you can completely hide the tail, maybe in like some vegetation or something in your collection room, it could be a pretty fun display piece, but if that tail is out and about, clearly it's going to look super ridiculous. Again, we see that darker green lead out, but that disappears before we lead to this final piece. We do have the other green, and then the lighter tone, though, that does move the entire way out through the tail. And we also have a little lever out here, and that lever actually, now let's go ahead and move the camera back up again. That lever, when used, operates the jaw, and what I believe that actually operates overall are these. So basically what this is, they are little discs that are meant to kind of give you the look of being venom for the Dilophosaurus, and I believe once you push that lever on the back, it kind of shoots the discs out. It does come with 4 discs overall, so you've got 4 to load into your Dilophosaurus and then use again with the shooting aspect of the Dilophosaurus, the launching aspect, however you want to term it. We do have a little button right down here. Let me remember it. There we go. So we'll get the noises going. Again, you pull the lever over here to basically extend the frill and use the noises. As you can... Well, let's let him go. As you can see, in case you didn't notice, there is a little light up effect, which we can kind of see in the eye and the crest. I don't know for sure if it's meant to light up in the eye, but it seemed like it was. Let's go ahead and do it again. So definitely meant to light up in the eye. Trying to get through some of the different noises. As you can see, there are quite a few noises for the Dilophosaurus. Now, to load your little discs in, you basically pull up this top piece here. Another one of the eyesores for the figure, I will say that, is the fact that it has like these little like metallic areas on the top that kind of look like they're, I guess, armor on the dinosaur, but in a way they almost sort of look like they could be capture gear of some kind, so I guess that's kind of okay, but like when you look at it, it really looks out of place up there on the top of the head of the Dilophosaurus. I feel like they could have given it something else, something maybe the same similar tone of color as the green, and it would have looked a little better. But honestly, I'm a little bit frightened to shoot these because I don't know how fast they're going to come flying out, and I don't know where they're going to go once they hit the wall, but I want to do it in a spot where you'll be able to see it. So we'll see what happens once we shoot one. So luckily that did stay on the review station, and as we can see, that came out pretty decently. Like, it had some good speed and force to it. Now that one just disappeared. I don't know where that one went. But as we can see, that aspect does work pretty well for the Dilophosaurus. Also, another thing, the legs look like they should articulate, but I can't get them to move. And pretty much all of the Dilophosaurus images that they've shown off for this kind of make it look like it's like a little bit more horizontal as far as its positioning, whereas this is kind of like in almost like an uphill slant when it comes to the way it's positioned. So I don't know if maybe I just put the legs in the wrong position or if they are always like this, but it's not quite standing in the position that we saw on the box or any of the images that I had seen of it prior, and I also can't seem to get the legs to move on mine. But it is what it is. I don't want to force the legs and break them or anything like that. Now, I did dim the lights because I do kind of want to get a better feel for the light up aspect of the figure, so we'll just turn the lights off entirely. Oh wow, that's actually quite a bit cooler than I was expecting it to be. Went ahead and moved the camera up just a bit so we can get a better shot of this. That is actually quite cool. Obviously not what I would say is realistic for a Dilophosaurus, is any sort of a light up effect, but I like that the light even comes out of the mouth. Also, I'm now down to 2 of those discs because I shot that second one in the dark, and I have no idea where that went, so I'm going to have to go search for that later as well. But as far as a size goes, as I already mentioned, it's pretty darn gigantic. For a length from the tail to the snout, you were looking at around 27 inches or about 69 centimeters, and in the position that it's standing in, about 19 inches or around 48 and a half centimeters, so pretty big for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being down there at the feet of our Dilophosaurus, and as you can see, this thing is gigantic. It is absolutely within super colossal size range, just obviously it's not going to have like the same length or, you know, anything like that, but it's very, very large. I don't think any other comparisons are really going to help us a whole lot when it comes to this figure. So I think we'll probably just end it here, because when it comes to other Mattel or Kenner or Hasbro Dilophosaurus, any other Dilophosaurus that's ever been released in the Jurassic toy line, I really don't think any of them are going to even come close to the size of this one, unless there's something that I'm forgetting about. But even like the old Horizon Dilophosaurus would still be significantly smaller than this gigantic Imaginext version. So I was just messing around with the Dilophosaurus and just discovered something else. You can actually twist the tail. So I'll just move it up like this. You can twist the tail, and once I twisted the tail to the right, it extended the frill, and the frill is now staying extended. So I guess there are numerous different aspects of play that you have going on with this quite interesting Dilophosaurus. So this Imaginext Jurassic World, even though I would call it a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, is actually pretty cool. It is definitely a neat figure. It's just, at the same time that it's really cool, it's also kind of ugly. The short tail is so awkward and distracting for the figure. And again, when it comes to Imaginext, a lot of them usually have the short, kind of awkward looking tails. But this one is exceptionally short, and when it comes to the positioning of the lever, it kind of makes it look like it's like mutated or just deformed. Like, it just looks strange as a whole. They could have done a better job if they just worked on the tail a little bit more. Once you're up there in the head sculpt, I think that's definitely the most appealing area of the Dilophosaurus, because it kind of resembles a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, not perfectly, but for the most part, and the colors of this are fairly reminiscent to a JP Dilo, but pretty much what I would expect, honestly, when it comes to an Imaginext version, when it comes to the colors. But obviously it's not going to be perfect. The fine detail is definitely a mixed bag, I would say. Some areas look pretty decent, some areas look pretty ridiculous. Overall, the actual scale detail on the figure, even in the areas where it is highly detailed, is still way too small for a Dilophosaurus. Like, it's super, super tiny on this figure. But when you get nice and close and do look at the detail, it's impressive with the amount of texturing applied. It's just not what you would actually see on a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus. But again, we do have to keep in mind that this is an Imaginext figure. It's not meant to look exactly as it would on screen. It does feature a little bit of articulation. It also has a fun action feature when it comes to launching those discs, as well as the ability to extend the frill and open the jaw. We've got some pretty interesting light up features for it. And then, of course, on top of that, some sounds, which are definitely Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus like. So overall, again, definitely a mixed bag. It's not my favorite Imaginext figure that they've released, but, you know, considering it does look like a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus and it's pretty huge, it's still pretty fun. If you are interested, I would say check your local Walmart or Target. They should still have them there. If you go to Walmart, maybe you'll get lucky and grab one on clearance like I did. You can also find them online on Target.com and as well as Amazon.com, and I'd imagine Walmart.com as well. So plenty of options to grab it if you are interested. You know, grab it if you want it, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.